In today's day and age, focus is your secret weapon. There are a million different things out there vying for your attention, trying to hack your psychology to get you to do or buy X, Y, and Z. But if you're able to develop uninterrupted focus on a single project or the single biggest lever in your life, you can create what many might take 6 years to accomplish in 6 months. See, focus is not something that you're just innately born with. This is a skill. It is not a trait. It is something that you can work at and actively develop in your life. If you can improve your focus, you can improve every single area of your life, from your career to your financial habits to even your relationships, by developing a greater degree of presence in every single conversation. Focus is the key that is going to unlock so many doors for you if you can just take time to understand the protocols and the habits that will lead to increased focus in your life. So today we're going to discuss a 4-step system that you can start to actively apply today to increase your focus, increase your ability to concentrate for sustained periods of time, and enjoy all the benefits that this will create in your life. So let's get to it. Number 1, guys, is to audit your environment. Okay, your desk needs to be clean and free of clutter. All right. So a cluttered workspace is going to lead to cluttered thought. It's a direct parallel in between what you're experiencing in the physical realm and what's going on inside your mind. So you have to start every single day with a clean workspace. Make sure your desk is not filled with random papers or trinkets or junk. Make sure it's clean and tidy. I like to just have my laptop and my monitor up there and a notepad for me to take notes on. And that's it. Remove everything else and make sure that you just have what you need to really dial in and focus on the key task at hand. So just like physical clutter leads to mental clutter, your digital environment is also essential to control. You need to find a way to restrict access to any and all distractions. People think that they can multitask, but it's actually a complete myth. Context switching, going in between one type of work and another, or one project and another, or going between your phone to your laptop, it's going to disrupt your focus in a major way. And there's studies that show that it takes up to 23 minutes for you to get back into a deep work state after you check your phone. Even though you think you're getting right back into your work, you're not going to be in the same level of consciousness and focus that you were before the second that you pick up your phone, or the second that you transition to opening a new tab and start searching something that's unrelated to the deep work that you need to get done. So we need to find a way to minimize context switching and really make it difficult for us to fall into these distractions, these digital distractions that are ever present in our lives. You can use app blockers or timers that will restrict your ability to even open that app on your phone. You can use the grayscale function on your phone. This is a way to triple click on the side of your phone to have that be a shortcut to turning your entire phone into black and white colors, so it's not as interesting to the eye and it's not as addicting, and it doesn't make you want to scroll or just get sucked in as easily. Better yet, to just do away with your phone altogether when you're trying to enter into a deep workflow. Okay, so put your phone in a different room, hide it, put it in a lockbox, put it in a drawer, somewhere where you don't have that ability to just grab it right away. So it should not be on your desk. It should not be accessible to you when you're trying to get into a really deep workflow. Don't even have it within arm's reach. Number 2 is to develop a focus ritual. Okay, so I was reading a book by Tony Robbins called Ultimate Power. He talks about how influential your state of mind is on what you actually can create in terms of an outcome in your life. The state of mind that you're in when you approach work, or the state of mind that you're in when you have an important conversation with your partner or with your boss or anyone that is meaningful to you, that is going to influence the outcome so much more than having a script ready or saying the right things. It's all about the energy and the state that you're in when you go into that conversation. And so Tony recommends to put yourself in a state of mind and create an anchor to that state of mind that is of peak productivity or of optimal experience in general. So let me break this down a little bit further. When you want to create deep focus and you want to get into a deep workflow, you want to think about a time when you were absolutely locked in on a project, when you could not be distracted by your texts, by people knocking at your door. You didn't even know what time of day it was. I think we all have these experiences where we're fully in the moment and we're fully in that flow state. You want to think back to that time and really put yourself in that experience one more time. Like vividly imagine what it was like. Feel that sense of intensity, that focus that you had on your laptop, or your whether you're practicing a speech or a pitch or whatever it might have been. If you were on a field, if you're playing sports, that feeling of like time sort of melting away and you just being completely in the moment and not being aware of anything else in your surroundings that don't matter to that one task. So put yourself in that position, because the thing is, your mind cannot tell the difference between something that's vividly imagined and something that is actually happening in real life. And this is the reason why the placebo effect works. It's because of the power of the mind. All of the same neural circuitry is going to be firing when you're vividly imagining that experience as if it was actually happening in real life. And going back to ultimate power and what Tony Robbins recommends is you want to anchor yourself to that state of extreme focus by using either a short phrase or a physical gesture like snapping, for example, or clapping or rubbing your arm a certain way. Create the visual imagery of that situation of intense focus and deep focus, and then go through a few times of creating that same physical gesture that's going to anchor you to that level of focus. And this is going to take a couple of, repetitions, a little bit of trial and error for you to actually associate the anchor with that state of focus. But once you get into that habit, once you start to create this sort of focus ritual, you can easily access that level of focus by just snapping or by doing whatever your anchor is, and you can jump right into it. Another way to do this is to have a focus playlist or a song that really triggers that same emotion and that same state of being of intense focus. And you can pair this with an anchor as well. So you can put on the playlist and you can snap, and then boom, you're communicating to yourself that it is time to lock the fuck in. Building off of this focus ritual, once you actually start working, you can also take advantage of certain psychological principles about your mind's ability to concentrate for certain periods of time. Now, there's something called the ultradian rhythm, which is a 90-minute cycle that your brain goes through where it has a high level of energy and a high level of concentration, which gradually dips off to a more relaxed and restful state before picking back up. So it's similar to the circadian rhythm, which is naturally triggered by sunlight and other factors in your life. When you're in your waking hours, you have this ebb and flow of energy. And this is kind of the foundation of the Pomodoro technique. If you guys have heard of the Pomodoro technique, it's when you work for 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break. You work for 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, you work for 25 minutes again, and then you take a longer 15-minute break. And so this is built on that same concept of a 90-minute cycle of productivity and rest that your mind is naturally going through. So you want to align your workflow with your brain's natural neurochemistry to the best of your abilities. All right, number 3 is to declutter the mind. We talked about in number 1, decluttering your physical workspace and decluttering your digital environment. But now we need to talk about having a calm state of mind. Even if you're doing all the rituals and you have a perfectly clean workspace, we know that the mind can still run wild. It can still overthink and overanalyze every single situation. It can get to the point where, you just seek entertainment or distractions because your mind is so noisy. It's just constantly hammering home on the same point, or you're replaying the same situation that happened at work, or the same interaction that you are wishing you said something different in, and you just need to be distracted. So you grab your phone or you go on some sort of app and you just try and distract yourself. So we need to address these things, and there's a few tools in your arsenal that you can use to declutter the mind and create a blank canvas for you to start working with every single day. Meditation is number 1. Okay, so there's a lot about meditation. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you have heard a little bit about the benefits of meditation. For me personally, I love to do a 10-minute breathing exercise, a meditation where I just focus on my breath. I count to 10 breaths and I just cycle through that as many times as I can in 10 minutes. And if my mind gets distracted or it runs off on some tangent, I start back at number 1 and I keep building up until I get to 10. And so it's kind of a game that I'm playing, and it makes it a little bit more challenging and a bit more exciting, as opposed to just focusing on the breath for an endless period of time. It gives it a little bit more structure. It's anchoring your thoughts to your breath, and it's allowing you to just focus intensely on that one thing without any thoughts coming up to distract you. The benefits of this are insane. Over time, if you're able to meditate every single day, you're working your mind like a muscle. So just like when you get in the gym and you start working out and lifting weights and your muscles start to grow in response to the stimulus that you're placing on it, your brain will start to adapt to you repeatedly anchoring your thoughts to your breath. You repeatedly just thinking about I'm breathing right now. I'm conscious. I'm present. I'm in the moment. And that sort of activity, if you do that over and over and over again, is going to actually train your mind to focus on one specific thing. This is going to translate to work if you want to focus on a task at work or a project or in a conversation, or if it's you're giving a presentation, you're going to be more likely to be completely locked in on that one thing because you've prepared your mind to do so. If you do this every single morning, you are showing your mind what is possible. You are training it to focus on one thing, which is your breath or other things in your environment. I know some people will use a dot on the wall. They'll stare at something on the wall, or they'll stare at a physical anchor, but most people use the breath. So I'll leave it up to you. The next thing you can do to declutter your mind that is so important is writing. A regular writing or journaling practice is a way to do a brain dump every single day, get rid of some of those thought loops that are happening on autopilot in your mind, where you're overthinking, you're overanalyzing, you're repeatedly coming back to the same concepts in your life, and you can just put it down on paper, and it's almost like a purge, like a catharsis of all of these thoughts. You're just writing about them, and once they're on the page, they're no longer in your mind. Writing also allows you to get a better understanding of what's going on in your own mind and what might be the number one source of distraction for you. If you're writing about it and you're noticing that there's a theme that keeps coming up, it allows you to shine a light on that thing. Now, the last thing that I recommend for anybody to declutter their mind is to walk with no phone, with no stimulation, with no podcasts, no music, nothing. Especially first thing in the morning when you're in a very suggestible state of mind. You're kind of in between conscious and subconscious, and you haven't access to your deepest levels of consciousness where you can start to actually program your mind for what kind of day you want to have. I made a whole episode on this about how to brainwash yourself for success, so you can go check that out if you want a deeper dive. But really, this is a way to start to sit with your thoughts and prevent them from getting in the way of you doing the deep work that you need to do. By going on a walk, you start to allow some thoughts to come up. You start to give yourself time to process them. You can come back in a lot more refreshed. Just like when you're writing, you're sort of doing a purge of these thought loops that are happening in your mind. And so you can come back to whatever task it is with complete and utter attention and focus on that thing. Now, the last one for today is to assign significance to your actions. It's easy when you feel like what you're doing is important, right? If you're a surgeon and you're doing a surgery, you don't need to be told to focus on that task. Like you just naturally will drop into that because of what's at stake, right? In your life, you can start to cultivate a greater sense of significance for even the smallest little actions. Every single thing that we do is an opportunity for us to build our focus to a higher level, whether it's brushing our teeth or working on our car or doing our life's work. Every single thing that we do has significance, and it matters a lot in our whole life story that we're telling. If you can intently do these small little things in your life with presence, by paying close attention to every fiber on your toothbrush and really paying attention to how your car is turning on in the morning and watching the road and looking at all the pedestrians and observing the scene that you're in, these things will start to become a bit more enjoyable. They won't feel like you're just going through it on this kind of autopilot mode. You start to pay attention to them and they start to take on new life. They start to take on new form, and it starts to become more interesting to do all these small little things. If you do them with precise intent and focus, you're really just becoming one with that activity. So it's important to emphasize to yourself that whatever you're doing matters. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And this is a good way to create a mindset shift in yourself, to start to pay attention to these small little things and to not do them on cruise control, because this is how you start to make mistakes. This is how you start to misplace your keys or your valuables, because you're just going through the motions and you're not actually thinking about what you're doing. Naturally, we only have a certain amount of brain energy, so you can't be just concentrating intently on every single thing in your life. But when you go into a little bit of a routine that you're used to doing and you don't even remember it after you've done it so many times in a row, really pay attention to it. As you're brushing your teeth, just brush your teeth and pay attention to how the bristles feel on your teeth and the taste of the toothpaste, and do a damn good job at that one little thing. You start small with these small actions, and then it starts to branch up more and more into your life until you're doing these big important tasks that have the potential to actually change your life, like the big sales pitch or the cold call or the emails that you need to send out that could potentially bring in new clients for you. These things you start to do with more intention and focus too, because you started with a foundation of focus with your small basic actions that are part of your daily routine. And you have to think about big goals just being a series of small actions, right? So the big goal that you can't focus on, it's really just a series of small actions that you need to execute with great focus and concentration. So if you are training your mind to do these small routine actions with concentration and focus, you can do the exact same thing for your big goals. If you break your big goals up into a series of smaller sub goals or components of those goals, this is just going to become like second nature to you. You know, you're going to be more focused on those small things because you know that they matter in the grand scheme of things. Those small little actions that you take are taking you either further towards your goals or away from your goals. If you're doing them without focus, without attention, and you're kind of just being lackadaisical and going through the motions. These things matter. Each day matters. Each little action matters. Give significance to your daily actions. Don't take it lightly. And that is naturally going to urge you to develop greater focus on these little things. That's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helps you think about how to build more focus in your life and crush your goals going into 2026. We'll catch you next week.